he and Aaron Gant, trying to think, Zach Damacone, that would probably be the three guys, that would figure in on, trying to fill the gap, for CJ.
This week, how do you go about trying to improve kick coverage, punt coverage, things that you talked about after the game not being very happy with?
Well, the thing about special teams, not unlike offense and defense, is you need all 11 guys doing exactly what needs to be done. The difficulty of special teams is the field is so large, and if you err on the offensive line as a right guard, there's only about a 2-foot, 3-foot issue. If you err on a lane as a kickoff cover guy, there's a 10-yard issue, and then if there's a fast guy running through that 10-yard issue, everyone else is in trouble. So we've got to understand, what the fundamentals are at every stage, and that's where I think special teams sometimes become difficult. I'm sure Randy's down at Miami having the same discussions with his guys about kickoff coverage, because interestingly enough, if you looked at the drive start analysis after kickoffs, we won that statistic. Now, one wouldn't think that, but there are different spots on the field where technique has to change. In the first half of the kickoff, for instance, you can avoid and get back in your lane. When you get to the second half of the kickoff, you can't avoid. And in all three long kickoff returns, our two and their one, there were people in the second half of the play going around blocks, avoiding, as opposed to taking on blocks and holding gap integrity and so forth. So, what can you do? You can do it right, and just like any other play, but it's really magnified in the special teams.
Do you plan to throw a few more different personnel in there this week? I mean, how are you sort of like...
You try to figure out how people are going to attack you, and I think that's one of the other things that's a little more difficult. You may say, well, these guys typically double number 4, so we'll put our bigger guy in at 4, and he can hold the gap even though he's getting double teamed, and we'll put the quicker guy who's getting single blocked. Well, then they come out in double 3, and you just don't have that much data because there aren't that many kickoff returns. But we're constantly looking for what's the right place for a guy, because the thing that you don't want to do on a special team is put a guy in a position that he's not capable of doing that job, and you hopefully, through April, August, September, get that figured out. And the problem you have sometimes is injuries. I know we thought we really had it figured out by midseason last year, and then all of a sudden, we lost Sweat, and we had lost Moeller going in. We lost Marcus Williams, and all of a sudden, now you're back to guessing who fits what lane best and so forth. And honestly, and our kickers, wouldn't be mad if I pointed this out. Really, from about mid-season through now, is we have not had the hang time and placement that we enjoyed with Aaron Petrie, and we've got to get there. And we've got a young guy who's got a ton of talent. And there's going to be a day where he may look like that Miami kicker, who I thought was extraordinary. I told him after the game I was so happy he was a senior. I mean, that guy is good, and he does all three: kicks, punts, and kicks off. So, we've got to get better at everything, to answer your question.
Do you consider taking a redshirt off a guy like Savino that has played well on special teams in the past?
We haven't, as of this morning, when we were working on special teams. That was not a solution that we felt we were going to do.
Do you look at like Jamal Berry or Jordan Hall, one of those guys that are just seem to have a little bit of an energy to them,
right?
And use them maybe?
That I think what you do is when you say, okay, we need to get better, who is producing on your team, who could maybe play more plays type thing. I remember Brandon Sane became a member of that kickoff coverage team, at one stage. And guys like, Jordan and Jamal, are in the 2 deep. They haven't done it in games yet, and so they know the scheme. And, this week we'll find out, who ought to be the 11 guys that get to run down, or who are the guys that need to stay in front of the punt returner even when they think he might fair catch, and so forth.